What's going on, guys? We're back, and today we're going to be talking about Kobe Bryant. When people talk about the legend of Kobe Bryant, they usually bring up the same thing: the 4 a.m. workouts, the fact that he was always working while everybody else was sleeping. And obviously, all of that mattered. But I think when people try to copy Kobe, they copy the wrong part. They think the lesson is just to wake up earlier or work longer. But the more I listened to Kobe talk, the more I realized that wasn't really what made him different. What made him different is how he prepared, the thought process behind it. Kobe was constantly trying to figure out what obstacle was in front of him, why it was there, and what he needed to do to get past it. Let me take you back to 1997. Now, this is Kobe's rookie year on the Lakers. And Kobe airballed 4 times near the end of a playoff game. Game 5 against the Utah Jazz. One at the end of the fourth quarter, and 3 times in overtime. He was only 18 years old, playing in one of the biggest moments of his life at that point, and he had completely missed the rim 4 times. Now, that could destroy the confidence of a young player, and I'm sure he was embarrassed. But years later, when Kobe talked about it, his attitude was basically, get over yourself. You're embarrassed? Okay. You're worried about what everybody else thinks about you? Okay. But that doesn't actually help you fix anything. So instead of sitting there and feeling sorry for himself, Kobe went back and tried to understand why the shots were air balls. He swallowed his pride and studied his mistakes to make himself better. He noticed that the shots were straight, they were on target. He wasn't missing left or right. Every shot was just short. That told him it wasn't really a problem with his form. His legs were gone, they were shot. He had just come from high school where he'd been playing around 35 games a season, plenty of time to recover in between, and now he's in the NBA. 82-game season, sometimes back-to-back nights. It's a huge adjustment. And his body just wasn't ready for that yet. So Kobe's response wasn't, I need to be more confident. He said, I've got to get stronger. I've got to train differently. He needed to change his workout and his routine, his strength program, so his legs would still be there late in the season. And once he figured that out, he was done being embarrassed by it. His mindset was basically, my legs weren't ready this year. Next year, I will do everything in my power to make sure that they will be there. And that story explains a lot about Kobe. He didn't look at failure as something that defined him. He looked at it like information, something to study. What went wrong? Why did it go wrong? And what do I need to change so it doesn't happen again? That was pretty much his process for his entire career. And when someone asked Kobe about his work ethic, he said it was an everyday process of trying to figure out strengths and weaknesses. And I think that part of Kobe gets overlooked. Kobe wasn't pretending he had no weaknesses. And he was one of the best players in the NBA, one of the greatest players in history. He was actually very aware of his weaknesses. He said his vertical was around 40 inches, but it wasn't 45 or 46 like MJ. His hands were big, but they weren't massive. He was fast, but he was not the fastest player in the league, so he had to figure out other ways to win. He said he had to rely on skill a lot more. He had to rely on angles a lot more, and he had to study the game a lot more than his competitors. And that's what I think people miss when they just show the workout montages. Kobe wasn't working hard just to say he worked hard. There was normally a reason, a motive behind what he was doing. He was trying to solve something. It was very analytical almost. He talked about one summer when he made 1,000 shots every day. But those weren't just random shots from wherever he caught the ball and felt like shooting. They were very specific shots that he knew he would have to make in a game. Coming out of a corner, coming off of a screen, practicing a move, and then practicing what he would do if the defender stopped that move. It was a real game simulation. It was situations he would face. And Kobe explained it like this. This is what I do extremely well. You're going to have to stop me from doing that. And if you stop me from doing that, I have a counter. Done. He was prepared. And I love that because it shows what preparation actually meant to him. He didn't want to enter a game and make everything up in the moment. He wanted to have already seen the situation. He wanted to have already practiced the move. He wanted to have already prepared the counter. So when the pressure came and it was game time, he wasn't trying to invent something new. He was doing something that he had already done thousands of times. Even the famous 4 a.m. workouts were much more calculated than people make them sound. Kobe broke it down like very simple math. You start training at 4 in the morning. Then you train again later that morning, then later in the afternoon, and then maybe again at night. And by starting earlier, you're able to fit many more sessions into the day. One day of that now probably doesn't make a huge difference, but you do it every day for a year and you start creating separation. All of these problems and weaknesses that you found, you're able to fix and improve on. Now you do it for 5 years and somebody can't just train hard for one summer and catch or surpass you. So yes, Kobe worked an unbelievable amount and it's one of his greatest attributes, but the real advantage wasn't that 4 a.m. was some magical time. It was that he understood how small improvements add up over time. For Kobe, there was also a lot more to his preparation than just being in the gym. Kobe constantly asked questions. He taught the Magic Johnson, Michael Jordan, Larry Bird, Hakeem Olajuwon, Jerry West, Bill Russell, and a lot of the older players that he respected. He actually called this Goat Mountain, which is pretty cool. And he wasn't just asking them, how do I become great? He wanted details. Why was Larry Bird so difficult to defend even though he didn't look that fast? What did you see on this play? What were you thinking in this moment? How do you handle this situation? He wanted to learn from the experience, expertise, and mistakes that the greats made so that he could handle them when it showed up in his game. He would sit with veteran players before and after practice. He wanted to know what he was missing. Kobe said everything was done to try and learn how to become a better basketball player. Everything. And once he knew what he was trying to find, he could learn from almost anything. Games, even movies, other players, past failures, his own body. The entire world became something he could study, and he was an avid student of basketball in the world. I also think that his Black Mamba identity was a part of his preparation. People normally talk about the Black Mamba like it was Kobe just becoming aggressive or intimidating as game face in crunch time, but he explained it much more like a mental switch. There were things happening in his personal life that he didn't want to carry onto the court. So when he practiced or played, he switched into a different mode. He compared it to an actor stepping into a character on a scene. And once he was inside that space, he became what the moment required him to be. To me, that's another example of Kobe preparing for an obstacle. He understood that emotions could distract him, pressure could distract him, pain could distract him. So he created a way to separate from those things and separate the distractions from the job he had to do. He didn't wait until the game started to figure out. He had already decided what he was going to do. And then, later in his career, he faced an obstacle that was a lot bigger than a bad game. He tore his Achilles. It's the famous clip where Kobe was clearly messed up, badly injured, and still went and drained the free throws before exiting the game. After that happened, Kobe walked into the training room and saw his children. He looked at them and said, "Your dad's going to be okay." And he later described what was going through his mind. This is another obstacle. This obstacle cannot define me. That's just his mindset. Different obstacle, same response. This is just a prime example. This happened. I can't change that it happened. Now what am I going to do about it? Study, process, and overcome. That's his method. Kobe never completely returned to the player he was before that injury. And I think that also has to do with age and the point in his career. But that makes the lesson even more real. Preparation doesn't mean you're always going to win. Some obstacles are going to change you. Some things are outside of your control, but you can still choose how you respond. So when people try to copy Kobe, I don't think the first thing they should copy is the alarm clock. Before copying the 4 a.m. workouts, what exactly is the obstacle in front of me? What am I struggling with? Is it lack of effort, lack of skill, knowledge? Who can I learn from? What do I need to practice? And if my first plan doesn't work, what's my counter? Kobe didn't just work for the sake of working. He was always trying to turn a weakness into a strength, a failure into information, and an obstacle into something he could prepare for. The 4 a.m. workouts were real, but they weren't the real lesson. The real lesson was how seriously he prepared for whatever was standing between him and the person he wanted to become, the next level. And that's what we've got for Kobe Bryant. Check out the TikTok for more content, and thanks for watching.